Good day, I'm Jacobus van der Meer and I'm presenting a business case to the Board of Executives as part of a course taken at the USQ, code CIS 8000. I will be presenting why a company should look at implementing cloud computing. First, we will look at the agenda. We will look at the purposes and objectives of this proposal. We will discuss cloud computing. We will look at what's happening today and what might happen in the future for IT. We will also discuss the advantages and risks of cloud computing. We will look at what other companies are doing, and then we will look at the scope for cloud computing for a company. We will look at best practices of cloud computing. We'll do a sensitivity analysis on the possible outcomes. We'll briefly look at lessons learned, and then finally a conclusion. The purpose of our business case is to expose management to cloud computing. We will have a look at why should we switch to cloud computing. The key objective is to choose a cloud computing option and to analyze the cost savings. In this slide, I will discuss how we are currently operating our IT department and what can be done for the future of IT in a company. The first column is how our IT department functions at present. We are operating on a packaged software product. In the past, software applications, middleware and hardware could not run without the other. If one stops running, the whole system collapsed. With cloud computing, we want to split up all these services into different units. The hardware, the software and application sections can be run on different servers, called virtual machines, in different places if needed. These servers can be hosted inside the organization or outside the organization. If one of them fails, the services can be migrated to another virtual machine and everything stays up and running. The next question is, what type of cloud environments do we get? If you look at the bottom of the slide, there's private clouds, public clouds and hybrid clouds. If we discuss private cloud is operated solely for an organization. It can be managed by the organization or a third party, and it can exist on or off premises for the organization. Then a public cloud. This service is available to the public or a large industry group and is owned by the organization selling these services. This is like Amazon or Google. The last one is a hybrid cloud. This is a composition of two or more clouds that remain unique entities but are bound by standardized or proprietary technologies that enable data and applications to function together. So, how do we split up these services of hardware, middleware and software? The first service is Infrastructure as a Service, or AAAS. This cloud service provider hosts the computer hardware, system software, operating systems and the communication networks. The cloud provider is responsible for the hardware installation, system configuration and maintenance. The service provider has its own management tool, and it must interface with the company's current programs, which may be controlled through a service API. That's the application program interface. To sum up, the green part of the table will be managed by the vendor. The next service, or the second service, is Platform as a Service. This cloud service provider provides a computing platform to support the building of web applications or programs on the platform. These services completely residing on the internet. These applications are normally configured remotely. Just make sure that the applications are able to run on your platform. The output performance might sometimes be slow. It is important to look at a dedicated server for your service. To sum up, the green part of the table will be managed by the vendor. The third one is Software as a Service, or SaaS. Software as a Service allows users to run software applications on the internet without having possession or managing capabilities of the applications on its private computer. This is like Gmail and Facebook. If you look at the green part of the table, the whole process will then be managed by the vendor. In short, this is how cloud computing works. Now that we've seen what cloud computing is, we will look at the risk compared to the advantages of cloud computing. It is sometimes difficult to migrate from one server to another service provider. This is due to technology differences between the suppliers. It is also difficult to manage programs from remote distances. A big risk is that it might happen that customer data is jeopardized. Hacking might take place and people might get unauthorized access to enterprise data in the cloud environment. Then the next one is virtual machines of vendors can sometimes be overloaded and temporarily unavailable. And then inadequate user training on cloud usage make the implementing of cloud computing ineffective. Our company should also be aware of regulatory non-compliance. Then the last one is a company should demand information from suppliers regarding our load balancing, backup processes, and security and data management policies. Sometimes this info is secretive and you're sitting with a vendor that can underperform. Then the next one is advantages. The biggest advantage is cost savings. Research has shown that up to 50% of IT cost can be saved. The next one is speed of deployment of any changes. A company can shrink and expand computer needs according to their usage. Pay for what you use. Cloud computing will further allow a company to decrease management time on IT while the company can focus on core business. There will also be environmental benefits. This will come with less computer screens, the power of economics of scale. Another advantage is clever virtual machines that can switch them on and off in the need to save power. And then instead of a server per service, a central machine can run various services on a machine. Services can be duplicated just by the click of a button and keep the services running if problems arise in other sections of the department. We will now look at what other companies have done on cloud computing. Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola has signed a deal with global technology giant IBM. This deal will see the company revamp its enterprise resource planning operations hosted out of an IBM data center in Sydney. Woolworths predicts it will close its Sydney data center within 5 years. The move to Google Apps meant Woolworths was able to disregard around 50 servers that had been scattered around the country in many computer rooms. Suncorp has reduced their data footprint by 50% and had a 40% reduction inside the data center in network equipment and complexities, but they also said they had their problems. We will now discuss the scope of a company in implementing the cloud process. We have to take baby steps at a time. We will implement or you make use of a hybrid cloud. We will first get infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. This will be done by professional service providers who know what they do. The next step is to get software as a service. This will be done by a company privately in the company. This is so that we can keep control over the process, protect our data and our software. Best practices on cloud computing. Maximize separation between private and public clouds, minimize data services overlaps among cloud architecture, and secure end-to-end connectivity. This should also look at organizations to supply secure connectivity for external as well as internal traffic. Interception and copy of info may also happen internally. To encrypt data and to make regular backups of data. And then cost effectiveness. What's cheap now might cost a lot more later on. We've done a sensitivity analysis of the project and the expected outcome. The first column is the expected outcome. The second column is a best case scenario where we've done better than we expected. The third column is a worst case scenario where we've done worse than expected. If we quickly look at the calculation of the payback period in all three scenarios is very good, as it's done between 2 and 3 years, given the fact that the IT equipment doesn't have a long shelf life. The net present value is an indicator of how much value the investment or a project adds to the firm. In all three scenarios, the value varies between 14 and 34 million, so it's a positive outcome. If the internal rate of return is greater than the cost of capital, we can accept a project. When we looked at the internal rate of return, it varies between 14 and 34%, which means cloud computing is a favorable investment for the company. The profitability index. As the value of the profitability index increases, so does the financial attractiveness of a proposed project. It's only in the worst case scenario that the value drops less than 1. This is not as serious at all, as most of all the other values have a positive outlook on the project. Lessons learned about cloud computing. We can move our IT department outside the company by services supplied by vendors who are paid, and in the process you save money. We can split hardware, the operating system and the software functions into different locations. This is made possible by cheap high-speed broadband. If one of the above functions stops operating, it can be duplicated on another machine within seconds with no interruption of the service. Data security and risk management can be done by specialists, and it's no need to do it internally. Data backups, it can be done on different places outside the company, and it's no need to do it inside the company. You just pay for what you use. They call it on-demand computing. Then you find clear virtual machines. These machines can switch them on and off as needed, and in that way they save a lot of power. Hereby the conclusion of my findings. A company will get a hybrid cloud. These services will be supplied by reliable service providers who will supply infrastructure as a service and platform as a service. The private cloud will be managed and supplied by a company ourselves, and we will supply software as a service. We will also reduce our risk, as we will be better prepared to protect our data, and we will have a lot more reliable IT department. And then finally, financially it will be the right decision, as the financial and the sensitivity analysis support the recommendation of implementing cloud computing at AA company. I just want to know if there's any questions. References on the next page. Thank you very much.